Last week I noticed a handful of people talking about their favorite all-time lens. And I saw a lot of common lenses coming up. 24-70, 85mm, 100mm, 70-200, 35mm, 50mm, 24mm, the list went on. And I really didn't see a pattern of, okay, hey, there's the leader right there. I did see a lot of 24-70s actually, but this got me thinking to what has been my favorite lens over the years. What lens has given me the most amount of joy, the most amount of benefit from using? And I sat down for a moment, and while the 24-70 is one of the lenses you'll find on my camera most of the time, but is that the absolute one that I would rate as being my all-time favorite? And after thinking about this for a little bit, I came up with the 50mm as being the winner for me. And if you have the opportunity to check with or you talk with a lot of professional photographers and ask them what was the very first lens that they purchased, you're going to find a lot of these photographers are going to say the 50mm lens. It's a workhorse. For me, this lens was what I learned photography on. I have some of my favorite photos I've taken all the time taken on a 50mm lens. And this is a essential lens and should be the lens that you consider for your camera bag. Guys, best of all, look at how small this thing is, and don't let the size fool you. This thing really packs a hefty punch. And there's a very good reason for that. Well, there's actually 7 reasons, and that is what we're going to be discussing in today's video. But first, you know, it's kind of warm out. I was in the office all day today and it looked nice, but the air conditioning was on. I come out and it is seriously, it's like Death Valley hot. I mean, actually about 97 degrees. It's pretty warm out. But this is very warm. And so what I'm thinking here is let's jump back into the office and we'll continue on talking about those 7 reasons why this lens should be in your camera bag. Sounds good? All right. 1, 2. Holy David Copperfield, that's some crazy ass shit there. Actually, you guys know what I did. But we're back here in the office, the AC's kicking, it's much cooler, and we're going to be talking about the 7 things, the 7 reasons why you need a 50mm lens in your camera bag. But before we dive into that, do you notice something a little bit new in here? Something a little bit different? Yeah, I can tell you. There it is right there. Actually, you may recall I had a Northern Light shot there before from Norway, and this is actually one of the shots that I took when I was over in Istanbul, Turkey just a couple months back. One of my favorite shots. The folks over with Artisan HD did an amazing job on this print. I'm super happy with this here. They utilized the True Life acrylic face mounting system, and what it does, it cuts down on a tremendous amount of the reflection. So you may recall I had a acrylic print here from Norway a little while back, and you could actually pick up all the lights, all my computer screens, into the reflection of it. It was really bad. It was a beautiful print, but it just picked up so much reflection. So this right here, there's a lot of light bouncing off of that, and you really don't see much of any reflection in there. So anyway, super thrilled with that, and so sharing that with you because you'll probably notice what happened to the other shot there. So we're going to dive into now the 7 reasons why you need a 50mm lens in your camera bag. Reason number 1, guys, they're cheap. Let's face it, budget is the biggest concern for most of us, but you don't have to drop $2,000 on a high-end lens to get great results. The 50mm 1.8 lens from Nikon, Canon, Sony, or some of the other manufacturers are super cheap. This one right here, this is the Sony one, this is about $249. The Nikon is about $196 on Adorama, and the Canon is the most inexpensive one, and that's about $125. And don't let that relative small price tag mean the lens doesn't perform well. It's far from it. These are really great lenses, guys. Reason number 2, they are sharp. Now, prime lenses like a 50mm have fewer moving parts and elements than a typical zoom lens, which makes them sharper from corner to corner. So when you're moving up from a standard kit lens, like for example a 18-55, this difference in sharpness can be quite astounding. Now, granted, guys, the spendier 50mm lenses like those from Sigma, Nikon, Sony, the Canon L series lenses, these will have better sharpness than the entry-level 50mm like something like this. But these bargain 50mm lenses are still highly capable of achieving excellent sharpness throughout their aperture range. Now, one thing to keep in mind, remember, no lens is going to be ultimately sharp when you max out the aperture. So, for example, if you get this 50mm 1.8, Step it down to like f2 or f2.8 for better sharpness. All right, reason number 3, they travel well. By and large, the 50mm lenses are extremely small and lightweight. This is especially true for these 1.8 versions. For example, the Nikon 50mm 1.8G weighs something like 6.6 ounces. It's less than 3 inches long, 2 inches wide. That makes it a fantastic lens for things like travel photography, street photography, and whatever you want without having to carry a big-ass heavy lens around. And this size advantage isn't just a Nikon thing. Canon's 50mm 1.8 is even smaller at 5.6 ounces. Sony's, yeah, this thing's the big boy at 7.13 ounces, something like that. So either way, they're all very small lenses. Reason number 4, they're versatile. Armed with a 50mm lens, you can photograph just about any subject. You can capture a portrait of your kids, a sunset view of the beach, a street scene at night, and all points between. When you factor in the big aperture in one of these lenses, like 1.8, 1.4, or 1.2, 50mm lenses can collect a of light, which makes them ideal for low light photography, both indoors and out. Heck, a 50mm lens are even great for video work if that's your thing. You can even reverse mount a 50mm lens onto your camera and use it as a macro lens. There's just not too many lenses out there that can claim as much versatility as one of these things. Reason number 5. These things are fast. With those big beautiful apertures you can get on a 50mm lens, you can really crank up the shutter speed to freeze motion and keep the camera shake at bay. This is really great for all kinds of photography, sports, wildlife if you're close enough, portraits, landscapes, you name it. Because you can shoot at a faster shutter speed, you can more readily shoot without a tripod. And that's a huge bonus when you're shooting travel or street photography. As it gets old, carrying around a tripod, and you don't want to be that guy setting up a tripod in a middle of the street in a busy tourist spot. Another benefit of having a big aperture is that you can keep the ISO low. Low ISO values creates less noise than higher ones. So by keeping the ISO low, you can create shots that are cleaner and crisper. Bonus. Reason number 6, they're great with bokeh. Now, bokeh refers to the quality of the background blur in photos. A 50mm lens and other prime lenses for that matter have the reputation for creating beautiful bokeh. That's because 50mm lenses usually have more aperture blades than kit lenses. Where many kit lenses will only have 5 aperture blades, many 50mm lenses will have at least 7. That might not seem like a big deal, but when you factor in 5 aperture blades, and the shape of the bokeh now becomes a pentagon, with sharp corners going around its perimeter. With 7 or more aperture blades, the bokeh now becomes almost a complete circle, and that's much more pleasing to look at. Reason number 7, they make great learning tools. Thanks to their small size, excellent versatility, sharpness, low light capabilities, and all the other features that we've spoken about already, these are ideal learning tools. Now, all those features means you can shoot all kinds of subjects in all kinds of shooting conditions, and that kind of exploration and experimentation is what will help you develop your photography skills in your creative eye. Now, additionally, since the 50mm lenses are prime lenses and do not zoom, they force you to work harder to get that shot. And guys, that's a good thing. You have to zoom with your feet and physically get closer to the subject or further away to frame up your shot if you want. Again, working for the shot will only help you become a better photographer, and since 50mm lenses are so small and lightweight and super fast, you'll be able to move around freely to get the photos you want. And there you go, my friends, 7 reasons why the 50mm lens is a must-have. Now, did you like this video? If so, do me a favor. Hit the like button down below, kick it, crush it, do whatever you need to. It really does help. Hit the bell button to be notified as we come out with new videos. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. We'll see you next time.